So what we're going to do just now is we're going to make a mirror glaze, and mirror glaze is the one that we're going to make. It's a cocoa based one which will give a lovely shine to your cakes, and you can use them in entremets as well. So what I've got here in the pot, I've got some sugar, cream and water, and what I'm going to do is heat it up to 90 degrees, and then we're going to add the gelatine and mix it with the cocoa powder, and that's just got a mirror glaze. But first, it's really important, the gelatine that I'm using today is silver leaf gelatine. There's different bloom strengths of gelatine, so make sure you get silver for this recipe, and you can buy it online as well. So I've got the gelatine here hydrating in cold water. Really important that it's cold water, because if you add it in hot, it's going to melt. So I've got the gelatine hydrating in water just now. I'm going to heat up the cream, the milk, not the cream, the sugar and the water. Again, the cream that I'm using in this glaze is the UHT cream, because with this glaze what you can do is reuse the glaze again, and if you use fresh cream you won't have such a long shelf life, so using the UHT whipping cream. So just now I've got to wait for this just to heat up to 90 degrees. That could take a wee while. So we're at 58 degrees just now, still got a wee bit to go. So while I'm waiting for that to heat up, I'm just going to drain the water out of the gelatine. Just squeeze it out with your hands. So with the gelatine, when we add it to the glaze, we don't need to melt the gelatine before, because the heat of the liquid here is going to melt it anyhow. So we're getting there slowly. So I'm going to pour this into the jug with the cocoa powder and put the gelatine in, and I'm going to blitz it using a hand blender, an electric hand blender. The type I've got here is a dynamic 160, Dynamics 160. I got it from Nisbets here in the UK. It's a French brand, and it's a really good hand blender because it's got a really powerful motor, because when you're blending the mirror glaze to get bubbles out, you will have to use you might be blending for a wee while, so if you have a good hand blender it's a lot easier. So I think that's us nearly. So we're at 89, we're at 90 degrees now, so I'm just going to pour this over here. And I'm going to put the gelatine in as well. And I'm going to start blending. So what I'm going to do is just pour it into this jug, the mirror glaze. So with this glaze, I need to leave it for 24 hours to set so that the gelatine can set. But I already have one that I've made earlier on so that we can use it today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up the glaze with the mousses that we made earlier on. So just now what I'm going to do is get ready for glazing. Glazing our entremets, well our mousse and our cake. But I just wanted to show you before the start the glazing process the difference in the glaze. This was the glaze that we made earlier. As you can see, it's still not set. The gelatine hasn't set the glaze. And this was a glaze that I made yesterday. It's like this. It hasn't been heated up yet. And you can do that and it's not going to move. So what I'm going to do just now is I'm going to heat this up in the microwave. It's really important that the glaze is between 37, 40 degrees. I'd say probably about 40 degrees. And then what we'll do is we'll use the hand blender to get rid of any air bubbles and make sure it's all mixed in well, and then we're going to glaze the mousses. Okay. So just now I've got my glaze heated up. I've been using the hand blender just to get any bubbles out. And for me now it's at the perfect temperature. So what I'm going to do just now is take the mousses out of the freezer. So I was just checking earlier, I've got a couple that are slightly demoulded already that I'm just going to put on here. So I've got two different shapes. I've got these, the semi-sphere that just pop out like this. I'm just going to space. You don't want to put too many on the wire rack. So I'm just going to put these other ones back in the freezer. So I've got as well a bit of cling film on the surface so that I can put my hand blender down without it getting too messy. And I've also got these little mono-portion boards that I've put a little bit of glucose on so that the mousse can stick to the board. So all you need to do is just pour the glaze on and let it drop down below the wire rack. So I'm just going to...
Ooh, that looks nice.
How is it looking? Just like that.
Wow.
It's so shiny you can see your face on it. That's why they call it a mirror glaze. So at this part here, using a little angled palette knife and a small paring knife, just give it a little twist with the palette knife, and using your veg knife, just support the mousse onto the board. And that's you got the little mousse onto the board. So I'm going to carry on doing this just now. You have to work quite fast with this because what happens is the mousse starts melting on the rack, and we don't want that happening. So this is a new mould. I've never tried this one, so this is going to... You've got to be careful because it's quite top heavy, so just make sure that you support. And sometimes you've got to be really careful because there can be a little casualty in this point. If I'm doing maybe about 40 mousses, maybe one will fall over when you're doing so many. So just don't worry if it does happen. You can just save that as a Scooby snack, as Paul would say.
Yeah, Scooby snacks. I'm too excited. I've got to come on.
You got
to see. Wow.
See your face.
Oh, you can actually see your face.
And I'm not joking when I say that.
I know, I thought you were just... Oh my goodness, look at that. Wow.
Are you impressed?
That is such a cool design, isn't it?
I've never used this mould before. I just...
What's the Russian?
It's called, I think it's like silicone wire. I've called it like a Russian...
Yeah, that's what it's like. The towers that you see in Moscow.
Yep.
Or Moscow. Well done. Excellent.
So I've got these. So I'm going to use that other glaze that I've got in the jar, well, in the jug. And I'm going to just do it on a cake that Paul kindly ganached for me. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same, pour the glaze over the cake. I just want to put a little bit of the excess off the side. Wow. Just a bit. Sometimes though. So this is quite hard when you're working with a bigger cake. You got it.
You want the tray, or you going to straight onto the stand?
Nope, but I'm going to get it first. And what we do is we just bring in any excess, like that.
Wow, looks so good.
But there's not been too much excess on this one. So what I'm going to do is put it onto a cake stand that Paul has kindly you've got to be careful, this is the moment of truth. The pressure's on. And this is like that. You've got to be careful when you're doing that. It's and just clean up any excess. What I'm going to do just now is I'm just going to tidy up this mess so we can start decorating what we've just glazed.